And from the Netherlands, Fatoumata is Fatoumata, and Fleur is from the Netherlands, and Neil is from India, and we know who he is because he's the only guy. And Tapasya is from India.
And Tapasya Chibbar from MIT SFT, India.
I'm Moonman. And I'm Nick Coco, and we're here in HKBU in Hong Kong.
We're producing 5 shows that discuss what systemic racism looks like in different parts of the world. In this episode, we'll be talking about understanding the history of racism in different countries, from stories of slavery to cultural traditions of
supporting people that are victims of systemic racism. I think it's very important.
If young people stand up against racism, chances are the future generation will be more aware of it and more initiative against it will rise. And hopefully we'll see more of those in the future, and there will be less cases as well.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is education, educating other people on our experiences as Black women, as Black people. It's important that people understand what we go through for them to be able to actually be our allies and help us move forward. So
women, they had courage to speak out against racism. It's admirable, and we all need to be brave to fight for our rights when facing injustice or discrimination.
India is a country with history that dates back more than 6,000 years, and racism can be traced throughout these years.
It really shows how little we have progressed as a society. This story by my classmate Ashmani uses mythology and history to show how society has portrayed its evil, and how these portrayals are used as an excuse to justify the discrimination done in our society. Let's have a look at Ashmani's story.
In the Netherlands, we don't really have indigenous people, but I feel like we need to learn more about indigenous people of Canada, the USA, Australia, and New Zealand. Our ancestors are important.
And how about India?
We do have indigenous people in India. They're called the Adivasis.
Yeah, and the Adivasis face a lot of atrocities under the British rule, and a lot of them were forced to convert to Christianity. Now they're also demanding recognition of their own religion, as they don't want to get classified under any other specific religion.
Yeah, we also have indigenous community in Hong Kong where they live in boats and catch fish for money.
Wow, I actually didn't know that Hong Kong had an indigenous community. One of the things actually that wasn't mentioned in the clips that we just watched was the higher rate of suicide in indigenous communities than in non-indigenous people in Canada.
And the same is true for Black communities, especially now during the COVID pandemic.
In the Black community in the United States, women in particular are seeing high infant mortality rates with their pregnancies. We're now being joined by Julie's Graham, a student from CSU Fresno in California. Hi, Julie's.
Where I live in Fresno, the infant mortality rate is in Black children is equal to that of a third world country.
Tracy said, I think that education is really at the crux of this, and starting with the education in schools and the curriculum, incorporating Black history, incorporating units on social injustices, I think that really is going to make a difference in generations to come.
I'm so thankful for platforms like this and outlets like this where we can empower each other through conversation and through stories and through journalism. Like you all mentioned, these are so important, and the conversations need to continue to happen so change can continue to happen.
Thank you for watching Let's Talk Racism, a series produced by students around the world. Although we've been talking about the racist past, we would like to end our show with some positive thoughts, sharing how our countries have been heading in the right direction. Starting with Canada, Sherry?
Yeah, the stories I've heard today really expanded my views on world issues, and we still have a lot to work on. In Canada, we're beginning to take a step towards acknowledging the issues within our own country and having conversations like these ones.
We have a lot of work to do. In order to head in the right direction, we need to make systemic change, which starts from within. We also need to allow for diversity and equality in representation, those that in workspaces, in educational settings. We also need to normalize having conversations like this one, even if it's on Zoom, without having any judgment. There are organizations in Canada that are trying to do something and move towards these goals, like Black Lives Matter.
That's really good. And how about India, Tabasa Emil?
For India, although the country still has a long battle to fight against racism, there have been a lot of improvements in the system. And even people are becoming more aware and accepting on this topic.
What I feel is that it's about bringing a change, and we all know that change takes time. But I'm of the staunch belief that one day will arrive when people from every race will live together peacefully.
That's very good. And the Netherlands, Fleur and Fatoumata?
I think there's still a lot the Netherlands can learn about racism and how we can solve the issue.
Watching this episode of Let's Talk Racism. It was produced by students at 7 universities around the world.
You can watch this and all of our episodes on Facebook and YouTube, and even see more content on our website.
Thank you for watching.
You can actually use social media platforms like Instagram and Twitter, which seem to be very popular nowadays, for posting and sharing the right kind of information. It is best if we could also try to participate and initiate in the works of local NGOs for this good cause of erasing racism and discrimination from our society.